Hey guys, it's Michelle, and today is Monday, June 19th, and we have a lovely breeze going on outside, which is why my wind chimes are doing their thing. So, okay, I'm having a really hard time kind of finding a time to sit down and do a whole video, etc. So I'm just gonna kind of keep doing the vlog thing until I can figure out kind of a better schedule, because this way I can at least record some, get some stuff uploaded on a more kind of regular basis, rather than going like a month with no video because I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and record for an hour. So we're just gonna roll with this. So I hope everybody's okay with that. And obviously things are a little crazy around here. So yeah, my hair needs to be done. I have this situation going on here, whatever. You get me like you get me. So, but it's pretty outside. It's actually cooler because we had like thunderstorms last night and some this morning. So it's cooled down quite a bit, because it had been like in the 97, 98, 99 range all weekend, which was horrible. So let me show you what I've been working on. So on Saturday, I went up to my local needle workshop, the Stitch Niche, which is in Arlington. And a group of us have been trying to get together kind of the third Saturday of every month, just to get up there and stitch and visit and whatever. So I wasn't able to go last month, so I did make it this month, and it was this past Saturday. And so I thought I'd share with you what I was working on. I took my cheesecloth project, otherwise known as the Merry Wind Farm Horn Book, which is a freebie, and I got a good bit done. I finished out that whole line of the lowercase alphabet. I did the border underneath that, and then I started with the P and the Q there. And that's about what I got done while I was there. So I did a lot of talking and some stitching. So, but it was fun. It's always fun to go up there and visit with other stitchers and get to meet people and look at all the stuff. And of course, my friend Robert they had framed more of his pieces. He's an amazing stitcher, and he has all of these fantastic finishes that the shop has been framing and using them as models in the shop. So every time I go up there, it's like, it's crazy, because there's so many beautiful pieces that he stitched that I could only hope to stitch that many. And they're all like these huge, repro samplers. His Dutch Beauty was actually up there, so I got to see it in person and see the actual size of it again. I remembered when he finished it, but it's been a while. Like, I knew it was big, but actually seeing it in front of you again, now that you have started down the path of stitching it, it's really big. So I sent Emily, Eclectic Possessions, I sent her a photo and said, look what I got to see in person today. And it's like, this huge thing, and then you can see like my feet in the picture for scale. So ginormous. But yeah, I mean, there's just nothing like seeing finished pieces in person. I mean, that's what makes, local shops so fantastic. And you know, to get the opportunity to see these pieces in person, to see them stitched up, you know, because so many of these charts or online photos just really don't do justice to the piece. And it's not until you see one in person that you're like, oh my God, now I have to stitch this. This is beautiful. So, and you know, sometimes that's the cool thing about seeing videos too, and Flosstube videos, is that you can actually get a sense of what the piece looks like that's a little better than just seeing it in a photo. So, because every time I take a photo of this, right, it looks totally different. So, but you know, you can kind of see that color in the video. So anyway, so I worked on that while I was at the Stitch Niche. And then a fortuitous coincidence is I was looking at a piece that they were getting ready to frame that was being pinned. That was a Blackbird Designs piece, and I think it's called Raven Bewitched. And you've probably seen it. It's got like, you know, it says like Bewitched up at the top, and then it has like ravens and stars kind of in these columns. And then at the bottom, I think it says October 31st or something like that, right? It's a very simple piece that I'd really never paid any attention to before. But seeing it in person, I was like, oh my gosh, is that like the actual called for colors? Because for some reason, I just always thought it was just all black, like it was all done in black. Well, when you look at it in person, and here's the other benefit to seeing things in person, it had like this dark cranberry color, it had a purple, it had you know, some grays, some, you know, kind of grayish brown in it, and black. And so, I mean, the colors were just gorgeous. So I immediately Googled and figured out that yes, those actually are the called for colors, or at least appeared to be from, you know, what I saw that it called for. So I got to thinking about my Halloween piece, my Blackbird Designs piece. You know, I think I mentioned in a previous video that the casting a spell, that one that goes in the box, I hated the colors. I had changed them slightly and stitched some of it, and I absolutely hated it. Like, really hated it. So when I saw those colors with the blacks and the grays and the purple and the cranberry, I was like, that's it. That's totally what I'm doing. 1000%. So I went and pulled the colors while I was there, just so I could see them on my fabric. And I had posted up a photo on Instagram, which I will insert here. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. That's totally it. That's what I'm doing. So, you know, I put back all of the threads because I knew that I had all of those at home, with the exception of one. I didn't have the crescent color, classic color, whatever the heck, that one. I didn't have that at home, but the rest of them I did. So I went and pulled them. And so it called for a bunch of Gentle Arts colors. So it called for Wood Trail, and it called for Cherry Bark, which is one of my favorite colors ever because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous color. So I'm all, yeah, I have these colors at home, no problem. So I get home, that's all I have of Cherry Bark. That's it. So I'm like, I wonder if perhaps I have been somewhere where I could have remedied this situation had I known it was that close to being out. Yeah, that would have been smart. Oh well. So I actually pulled two other colors that are similar. I have this limited edition color called Dried Blood that is similar, but it's a little more rusty. And then I pulled another one, which is Currant, which is pretty close to Cherry Bark. It's a little lighter than Cherry Bark, but I think that I can make it work. I may just use the darker end of the thread. So, neighborhood dogs, barking, barking. It's like one starts and then they all go. It called for Old Purple Paint and Garden Gate. I told you about Wood Trail. So yeah, so I pulled those colors when I got home and decided, yeah, I totally want to rip that out and start over. So last night, that's what I did. So let me show you. Don't you love how I use my chin to hold things up? Okay, so you may remember that I had all of that raven and the pumpkin. It was all stitched and it was like orange and bright, crazy, brassy, goldish color. It was horrible. So now I've restitched it and I love it so much more. So much more. It's looking a little dark out here. And it is not quite that dark. And my fabric's looking a little purple too, which it is not. But anyway, so I'm super happy with how that looks. So the next step is to pull that part out and start restitching that next part. But I'm so happy that this solved my problem because I was not feeling it. Not feeling it at all. If I get back here, can you see it better? Sorta, not really. Anyway. I feel like if I could, wonder if I can do this. I don't know if that helped any, but whatever. Okay, so I worked on that last night, super happy. And the other thing that I have been working on, because you know, I don't have a schedule because it's not Stitch Mania anymore, so I'm just kind of willy-nilly all over the place. So I have been working on Salem Remembered, and that's where I'm at. So I've been working on that little, I got the other little trumpeter done, and then I've been working on that little border thingy in the middle. So that's where I'm at. So kind of all of those things back to back. And today in the mail, I got my Just Cross Stitch. So let's discuss. Vonna posted up on Facebook the other day and basically said, y'all are gonna have to, you know, up your game or I'm canceling my subscription. And I'm right there because I'm not stitching any of those things. No. Like there is nothing about that that says, please stitch me, to me. So I had actually let my Just Cross Stitch subscription expire years ago because not feeling it. But I had a subscription to Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly, which I loved. because it was all about repro samplers, antique samplers, stuff like that. Loved it. And then they decided, oh, well, we're not going to make that magazine anymore because we don't have a big enough subscription base. Well, based on the number of people that I know that are ticked off that they closed it, seems like they had plenty of people. So what they did, because of course I had just renewed for like 2 more years, they rolled my subscription over to Just Cross Stitch. And of course they said, we're going to start incorporating the content from that magazine into Just Cross Stitch. I would love for somebody to show me where that is, because it's not in any of the magazines I've looked at. I mean, they sort of do this, you know, little article about some sort of, you know, sampler technique or type of antique sampler. But then instead of like doing a chart where they offer you, you know, a chart of that antique sampler, they instead do this random, like, oh, instead of actually, you know, charting something in a CC for you to stitch to learn, you know, more about a CC, instead we're going to give you this random yoga chart, you know, that has a person doing yoga poses that says yoga on it. No. Whole lot of nope. So here's what is in case you haven't seen it, here's what's in this issue. So okay, that looks relatively like an antique sampler, kind of, but I mean, even when they do some sort of an antique sampler, it's like the lowest common denominator of antique sampler, right? Like it's not even anything to the level of what they were doing. That's what I'll say. So yeah, I'm about 2 seconds from canceling my subscription, asking for my money back, and then I will purchase on an as wanted basis if it's, you know, if they can get their act together, because I'm done with that. I'd rather spend my money on something else. So anyway, I just had to have a little side rant because I just got that in the mail today. But yeah, based on the people that were commenting on Vanna's post, yeah, nobody's happy. So anyway, I think that's, oh no, that's not it. So I totally need to do my tag, right? Because I keep putting it off. So Emily, sweet Emily, was tagged by Olivia B. If you have not been watching her videos, you need to go do that because she's awesome. And so Olivia tagged Emily, and then Emily in turn tagged Letitia, Crafty Curator, and me. And Emily was so sweet about all of the things that she said in her video about me. I laughed when she said I had this amazing stash, because it's like, I don't feel like I have an amazing stash, but I do have some chart stash, I will say that. Um, what I need is fabric stash. That's what I need. But anyway, so it's just, she said some very sweet things about me, and Emily, I love you, girl. You know I do, and I appreciate all of your sweet, sweet words. And I appreciate all of those people that you have talked to about my haunted dollhouse. And I'm just waiting for you to send me a message and say, yeah, this is the kit that I bought, and Jim and I are going to start putting this together, because yeah, you need one. I don't know where the heck I'm going to put mine either. I have no room for it, but it's here, so that's why it's still sitting out in the garage, because I can't figure out what to do with it. But I don't care, because it's awesome. So, and speaking of haunted dollhouse update, so my next step is I need to paint the staircases, and I just have not had the opportunity to sit down outside and do that, and it's been so freaking hot that I don't want to do it in the heat of the day. I really need to do it like first thing in the morning, and it just hasn't happened. So that's why I haven't shown you any updates, because there really hasn't been any. But that's my next step, is I need to paint my staircases. So anyway, back to the tag. So Emily, because she tagged me, I now need to tag 2 other people. So I've been thinking long and hard about this, and just like Emily, I kept, you know, putting someone on the list, and then putting somebody else on the list, and then adding 4 more people, and then I had to, you know, whittle it back down, and, you know, whatever. So, so the first person that I want to tag is Nicole from Nicoles Needlework. Nicole and I have been friends for quite some time, and you know, we were blogging friends. We were in some groups together, and you know, Nicole is very near and dear to my heart, and she is one of the people that really encouraged me when I first started knitting, and, you know, recommended some patterns for me to start with, and just overall, just Nicole is so sweet and so thoughtful, and so supportive and encouraging, and I love that. I mean, it's people like Nicole that make this community so fantastic. So you know, you can't top Nicole, because she is just genuinely a very sweet, very supportive, very loving person. And then when you add on top of that her stitching, I mean, well, first of all, so, I mean, she's an amazing knitter, and just like with stitching, she whips those projects out. It's like, oh, I just, you know, knit these 12 shawls. So, she's amazing. And her stitching is amazing. And Nicole is one of those people that stitches in hand. And so I'm completely fascinated by that, because I don't stitch in hand, and she uses the sewing method. And so, you know, I think a couple of times she's done videos of showing, you know, kind of how she stitches, and I'm just so intrigued by it, and I'm convinced that whatever it is that she does is what makes her so fast, because she just stitches things so fast. And I was just looking at Instagram, and she had just posted up another finish of a beautiful piece that I think is a Plum Street piece. Yeah, it's one of those Americana pieces. So anyway, if you, I can't believe if you're not watching Nicole, because you must be living under a rock. But Nicole, I love you, girl. You are awesome and amazing, and I'm so lucky to be able to count you as a friend and a sister. And I love everything you do, and you always, you just do amazing, amazing pieces. And I love that you are introducing so many people to repro samplers that maybe hadn't been introduced to them before, and you know, maybe hadn't seen how beautiful they are. And so I appreciate the widespread influence that you have. And every time I think about Nicole and her videos, I think about, you know, when she did those videos where she showed like her 20 years worth of finishes. And I just remember Abbey Bella Stitch posting in Stitch Mania, and she's like, Nicole just posted a new Flosstube video. Get out your credit card and go watch. So it just cracks me up because, yeah, Nicole is a serious enabler because she stitches so many beautiful things. So anyway, so that is my first tag. So Nicole, you can now consider yourself tagged. And thank you for being my friend and for being so amazing. So the second person that I want to tag is Kelly from Evergreen Needle. And I have so many reasons for tagging her. And I don't know Kelly all that well, but I feel like, you know, she is a what do I want to say? She is a fellow, you know, dark and creepy, you know, lover of things, and there's just so many things that she shares that I'm like, oh yeah, me too, me too, me too, you know. Oh, I'm watching Penny Dreadful. Oh, that's my favorite show. Oh, I went to, you know, the Smithsonian and Natural History Museum and bought all of these crystals and rocks. And I'm like, oh yeah, me too. I love crystals and rocks. So, anyway, but the things that I love about her, you know, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is that not only does she stitch these amazing pieces that are just beautiful in their own right, but she does these fantastic, amazing conversions where she completely changes the look of the piece. You know, like her At the Met piece that she did, you know, is kind of an Egyptian, you know, Cleopatra looking, you know, lady. And the one she's doing right now of the Raven Queen, oh my gosh, where she's, you know, switched her, changing her up to be the queen from Snow White and the Huntsman. You know, even just things like switching her, where she was stitching red and she did her all in green. I mean, she has such an eye for not only just converting the colors, I mean, because a lot of people do that, but to completely change, you know, like, and do her own interpretation of the piece. That's what I love, because that to me goes beyond just changing the colors. And so I'm just enthralled by watching, you know, her videos where she goes through like all of the changes she made and why she made them, and you know, some of the trial and error that she goes through to get to like the exact, you know, look that she wants. that is just amazing to me. Um, and I love also that she is not someone that falls into stitching what everybody else is stitching. Like, she stitches a lot of pieces that you're not seeing anybody else stitch. Um, and I love that about her too, is that she is her own person and that she stitches what she wants to stitch. And she just kind of does her own thing. And I love that. I really love that. And right now, of course, she's doing that full coverage piece from Gecko Rouge. She's started Bohemia. And it's just stunning. I mean, and she is rocking on that thing. Like, I've never seen it come together so fast. One of those pieces come together so fast. So I'm loving watching her do that. And she's enabling me because I want to do one of those so badly. The one with the stars. I can't even think what the name of it is, but anyway. Celestial Love, something like that. Anyway, that's the one I want to do. And the other piece about her that I just love, that really draws me to her too, is, you know, I mentioned about Salem Remembered, and, you know, the post that she made where she talked about, you know, don't forget that these are real people that we're talking about. This is not some fantasy, you know, fiction story. These are real people. She has done, as well as I remember, 2 or 3 posts like that, you know, over the time that I have been following her, where she just states something so matter-of-factly, and I love it because it, you know, that speaks to me, of course. And her ability to, in just a couple of sentences, you know, sum up exactly what I'm thinking or feeling, or, you know, something that was bothering me about something that was going on. So I appreciate that not only does she do beautiful work and does she stitch on things that are, you know, kind of unique to her, but that she also has that ability to speak to history and things that are going on in our culture and society, and she very succinctly, you know, puts that together. And I'm so appreciative of that. And if you're not following her on Instagram, you should be, the Evergreen Needle. But more importantly, you need to be watching her stories on Instagram, because that's where the good stuff happens. It's not just the posts she does, it's the good stuff on Instagram stories. Like when she's making that margarita cake. Yeah. So anyway, so Kelly, I had to tag you because you are amazing. You're amazing to me, and I so appreciate your work and your words, and your ability to interpret and show the rest of us your vision, not only in the conversions and the changes that you make with your stitching, but also in your words and in your posts, that you have the ability to share ideas and thoughts in a very beautiful and clear way, which is really a gift. So consider yourself tagged. And I'm so behind on Flosstube videos. You've probably been tagged, repeatedly. Nicole probably has too, but I'm tagging you guys as well, so whatever. So everybody needs to go follow them and watch their videos and find the good stuff. So I think that's about it for me today. I'm going to try to gather all this up and see if I can get it uploaded. I know I had something else that I was going to share with you guys, and I can't for the life of it remember what it was. I have Dutch beauty things to talk about and show and share, but it's not going to be today. So anyway, so thanks again, Emily, for the tag. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys are enjoying your stitching. Bye. Hey guys, it is Thursday, June 22nd. I managed to get one of my videos uploaded this morning, so got that done. It was actually supposed to be one more clip longer, but I had to save that one for next time. So I'm at the office. I have my stuff packed up. I'm ready to go. Tonight is the Dallas Modern Quilt Guild meeting, so I'm gonna go head over to that. I know we have a speaker tonight, but I cannot for the life of me remember who it is, so I'll report back later. But I'm really looking forward to going and visiting and all that good stuff, because it has been a long week. We still have one more day to go, but I'm heading out. Bye. Hey guys, it is Friday, June 23rd, and I have the house to myself, so I thought I'd take a quick moment and do a little video. So let me start with, I got my hair colored, so there's that. Anyway, so last night I went to Quilt Guild. I'm a member of the Dallas Modern Quilt Guild. I think I mentioned that. And I wasn't sure what the program was last night. So the program was, we had a fabulous designer come and speak to us, and her name just completely dropped out of my head. But on Instagram, her business name is My Fabric Relish. She is a quilt designer as well as a long armor, and so she came to talk about owning your work, and by that meaning taking ownership of the things that you create. And so she talked a little bit about modern quilting and identifying yourself as a modern quilter, which obviously, her talking to the Modern Quilt Guild, she didn't need to go into that much detail, but one of the things that she really talked about was taking a piece and making it your own. So, it's kind of some of what, I've been talking about a little bit, and, certainly I mentioned it in a couple of clips that, one of the things that I really respect about Emily from Eclectic Possessions and Kelly from Evergreen Needle is that they, they're not just stitchers, but they are taking a piece and really making it their own, changing the colors, changing some of the look of the piece, replacing parts, what have you, changing fabric, all of that. And what I love about that is that, they are not just, you know, not just stitching a piece, but they're really, you know, making it something that they love and making it into something that they're really kind of taking ownership of, which I think is fantastic. And, you know, it's something that, while the program last night was really focused on, you know, quilting and how you express yourself, you know, through your quilting, even when you're doing a, you know, a pattern from a designer, you're using fabric that has been designed by someone else. You know, there are still so many ways that you can kind of take ownership of that piece and really make it your own, and really be confident in your self-expression in that manner. I don't think there's anything at all wrong with, you know, stitching something exactly as it is designed. And I know that for me, I have certainly found frustration in what I expect a piece to look like based on either the photo I've seen online or the photo on the cover of the chart. And then when I start stitching it, either thread dye lots are different, or fabric is slightly a different dye lot, or whatever. And then it's frustrating and disappointing, because part of probably what drew you to that piece in the first place was what you thought it looked like. And so then, you know, when it doesn't turn out looking that way, it can get kind of frustrating. So even if you're stitching something, you know, exactly as the designer, you know, intended it, with the called for colors and called for fabrics, you know, you still have those instances where you may have to make adjustments, because it may not necessarily come out, you know, exactly as what drew you to it in the first place. But anyway, it was a really good program. She brought some really beautiful quilts to show us, and I unfortunately did not get great pictures of them because I was just not sitting in the right location for that, but it was a wonderful program. So I'm so glad that she came and spoke to us and shared her beautiful, beautiful quilts, and kind of her thought process behind some things and behind some of her designs, which I love. So it was a great meeting. Had a really good program, really good night. So I wanted to share that with you, though, because it was an interesting topic that I think certainly as stitchers we can, you know, we can incorporate some of that into what we do as well. So, and obviously I did post a video yesterday, and I think I mentioned, you know, there was one last piece that was really supposed to be in that video that I couldn't quite get it to fit in, so it's probably at the front of this video. But I've gotten so much great feedback, and so many people over my past few videos have really mentioned that, you know, people have been so sweet and talked about, you know, they really are enjoying this kind of format because I'm talking more about, I guess, whatever pops into my head. And I realize that I spend a whole lot of time in my head, and I think about things a whole lot. And so some people love that about me, and some people do not love that about me. So anyway, I am happy to continue to, you know, include those things when they come up, but I don't necessarily intend this to become, you know, Deep Thoughts with Michelle. So anyway, but I appreciate all the comments and all the thoughts and everything, and the feedback. It's really wonderful, and I appreciate you taking the time to leave those comments. So, so I wanted to show you what I've been working on. So I mentioned I was having kind of Stitch Mania withdrawal, and I don't know what I was supposed to be doing because I don't have it planned, and I haven't quite totally gotten back into my rotation mode, which is a little frustrating for me, but trying to just kind of, you know, go with it. But I have been, the past few nights I've been working on Coffee Quaker, so I wanted to show you kind of where that is at. So here's where I'm at. So this is the top corner, this is the bottom corner. So really all I have left is I've got a couple more motifs here, and then I need to go up this side, and then that's it. So I'm working on the fill in the blank here that I have left for so long. I'm finally getting that. So I was able to finish this espresso bean motif that I have down here. I love how this looks. And there's a motif that's over here that I'm going to use that espresso bean in as well, so that it kind of balances out. But this motif is the one that took me the longest. And when I started switching out colors, one of the things that I did was I went on my working copy and I wrote down which motifs I was going to do in which color, so that I could kind of keep that balance. And so I sort of knew, you know, I sat down and I figured all of that out so that I didn't have to keep doing it, and every time I go to a new motif have to figure out what I want to do there. So this motif I had not assigned colors to, and part of the reason was I wanted to wait until I had kind of the colors around it before I really delved into that. And I know that this motif had a lot of conversation in the Sal group, so I wanted to really think about what I wanted to do here. This is a very kind of classic sampler motif, this sort of, you know, bowl of fruit as it is, as it were. I don't know what kind of fruit, but you see this a lot in sampler stitching. So knowing that, I started to really kind of look at, you know, break this down into smaller elements. And one of the things that I noticed is that Beth, the designer, put these little vertical deals in here, which I found interesting. And so I decided that maybe there should be coffee beans. And so this would be my bowl of coffee beans, which I thought was entirely appropriate. So instead of doing them all in the same color, I staggered mine. So I did them in 2 different colors, and I really tried to keep that round shape to them so that they really came off looking like more like coffee beans and less like a pile of, you know, whatever. So I am super happy with how that turned out. Like, really happy with how that turned out. It's exactly kind of how I envisioned it. Now, it did take me several nights to stitch that because I did have a couple of false starts. The first color I had intended to use didn't quite work, and so then I tried a second one that didn't quite work, and so then, you know, I had some trial and error there, but I'm really happy with how it looks. And I think that doing the little beans in those 2 different colors really gives it some depth, so it doesn't look like just a big sort of blob right here. And with all of these, you know, really kind of lacy Quaker motifs, I didn't want this to look super heavy. So I think I achieved that. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. So I'm going to keep going on this and see if I can kind of power through and get the rest of this done. As long as it's calling me, I'm just going to kind of work on this. Because I am feeling that, you know, that kind of pull to finish a few things. And I have like 3 or 4 things that I think are really close to a finish that I would like to just kind of whip out and get done. And so this is one of them. I know, you know, I say this is almost finished, but there's still a lot of work to be done here. So, but I'm really happy with how this is turning out. And so, just as a reminder, I am stitching this on the called for fabric, which is 40 count Stars Hollow R&R, I think. I'm using some of the called for threads, but I switched some out. And I probably could tell you which ones are which, maybe not. Like this is cinnamon, I know that, because I replaced the ruby slippers that it called for with this cinnamon color. This is Palomino, and funny enough, this is Palomino. So I have 2 different skeins of it, and one is really kind of this brownish greeny kind of color, and one of it is this kind of, you know, more warm orangey sort of color, both Palomino. I think this is hazelnut. I have dark chocolate in here. I have Swiss chocolate, which is more kind of a reddish brown, which I love. I have apple cider. I think this is mocha. And the reason I started switching out colors is I didn't want to use the green or the red because I thought they were too strong. So I replaced that red with the cinnamon color. And then I had a couple of colors that were too close to my fabric color that I had to swap out. And so then I had to kind of play a little bit. So there's some more Swiss chocolate. This is still the picnic basket that it's called for. This, which is supposed to be green, I tried several different greens and I actually ended up with a limited edition color called Zombie Flesh, which is sort of a greenish brown, but I thought it really worked. So, and then of course this is my espresso bean. I think this is roasted chestnut, maybe. I think this is mocha. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it's turning out and I'm really enjoying stitching on it. So I'm gonna keep at that. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is Dutch Beauty. Dutch Beauty. So, let's discuss. I have several things I want to chat about. So, this motif right here, front and center. To me, that looks like a swan. It has always looked like a swan to me. When I look at that, I say swan. And so, you know, that's kind of what my plan was. When I got the chart out and started looking at it, one of the great things about this chart is that not only does it have some really great, you know, big chart pages that are really, you know, nicely done, but it also has these, it has an explanation of all of the motifs and the symbolism throughout the sampler. And so there's, you know, it's divided up, and so it tells you like top row, middle row, bottom row, and what all those little motifs are and why they're there and what they symbolize and all that stuff. So on the bottom row, when I looked at this, you know, I just kind of scanned down it. I haven't looked at each one of these individually, but I did sort of scan down it, and it says, it talks about the vases of tulips that are these big vases. And then it says at the foot, there are a few more birds. There's a stork, which I think maybe that guy, which brings luck, symbol of vigilance and parental love. There's two birds, and in the middle is a crowned heart. Oh, that's these guys that you can barely see right here. And then beside that, another two little ducks, which are these guys. Then it says, the big naturalistic design in the middle could be a swan on his nest with his 4 young ones, but presumably it is the pelican who appears frequently with her young ones, the symbol of Christ's self-sacrificing love. So I read that and then completely dismissed it because I was like, it's a swan. So, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about pelicans, but to me that looks like a swan. So mine's going to be a swan. But the reason that I wanted to bring this up, so this is what is so wonderful about this community. So yesterday I got an email through my contact form on my blog from Ellen Chester, who is the designer for With My Needle, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'm questioning everything. So Ellen sent me a note and said that it's not a swan, that it is a pelican. And she mentioned that, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember her exact words, but she said that part of the reason that pelicans are a symbolism of the Christ is that they will actually cut themselves and feed their blood to their young to, you know, give them nourishment. So because of that, there's that connection with Christ, Christ's blood, all of that. So, which I find intriguing. One of the things that I so love about antique samplers, and the reason that they are near and dear to my heart, is because of all the symbolism. You know, with an art history background, it's that symbolism, you know, that I find really interesting about certain periods of art. So Ellen, I so appreciate you sending me that note and letting me know. Because while I had read that, I didn't actually know the thing about them, you know, feeding their young. So I found that super interesting. So I'm going to do some more research on that because I'm a little intrigued. But I also appreciate the way that you approach that. Because to me, here we go, deep thoughts with Michelle. to me, I kind of feel like the more knowledge I have, you know, the better I am. So I love that you know that. And, you know, to me, when I think about, you know, not only designers, but people who are very well versed in antique samplers, and if you guys want to be amazed, you know, go and look at Ellen's blog, which I will put a link to. She stitches so many gorgeous, gorgeous antique samplers, reproduction samplers. And so I appreciated that she took the time, you know, to teach me about that and to share her knowledge. So thank you so much, Ellen. I really appreciate it. And I've not yet responded to your email, but I certainly will. And thank you. So, so this kind of part of the reason I wanted to bring this up is it kind of ties back into the conversation about owning your work and making it your own. So to anyone else, this may be a pelican. It may have been intended to be a pelican. Mine is going to be a swan. And that's what I love about this. And that's the part of, you know, creative license that you can take with your pieces. Because if something doesn't work for you, or if you want to change something or make it different, you have the right to do it, to do that. But I so appreciate knowing what that symbolism is and why it may have been included in the sampler. Just like, for example, as I knock stuff over, just like, for example, knowing, for me, from a sampler background, that this is a bowl of fruit, that I can come at it from a different perspective than perhaps someone else did. So I think that's awesome. So I'm really now, I'm very excited to, as I work through the sampler, read through some of the explanation of, you know, what's what, why it's included, etc. So thanks, Ellen. And I'm so glad that you let me know that you watch my videos, because that's really cool. And on that subject too, not only do I want to send you guys over to look at Ellen's blog, but there are a couple other Facebook groups that are sampler focused that you might be interested in. One of them is Sampler World, and the other one, I can't for the life of me remember what it is. But I will link to both of those. And I don't think I've mentioned this lately, but it is at the end of my videos in the credits. There is a link to my blog. And also when you're on YouTube, if you click that little down bar for the description underneath where the video shows, there is a hyperlink to my blog. So you can go there as well to get to my blog. But it is cozyegg.cozyeggdesigns.com. That is my Cozyegg blog, which is my crafting blog. You can just go to cozyyeggdesigns.com and you can get to any of my things from there directly. And there is a contact form, so you can shoot me a note, whatever. So that's where I try to put my links. So if you're looking for one, there you go. And because of how many videos I did during Stitch Mania, I am behind on getting my blog posts loaded. I published one yesterday and I published one today. I think I have 2 more to do. So I'm a little behind. Apologies for that, but that's where all the stuff is. So Sampler World and whatever that other one is. Okay, so Dutch Beauty, Black Swan. I mentioned that I want to do this on a dark fabric, or at the very least I want to do it on kind of a gray tone. I had this piece of fabric in my stash and wanted to give it a try. So if I had to guess, I would say this is probably, I don't know, it looks a little small for 32 count. It could be 32 count. I think that's what I decided, was 32. So this was my test stitch of my Black Swan, with the red beak and the red eye, because I was trying to kind of figure out what color is this gonna work on, because I want to make sure that that black shows up and that it doesn't fade into the background. But I don't want it so light that, you know, that it's just not my vision. This may be a little dark, particularly if I'm using one strand, but this was a good test. So, yes, I started this sal with Emily on the 12th, which is what I intended to do and what we agreed upon. But I didn't totally start because I was trying to figure things out. This is also a piece of fabric that I have for my stash, and this is actually a very, very light gray, and it's just reading as, you know, a white, or it's actually kind of reading a little brown. But this is a very light gray, barely gray. I had a second piece of it that I did some testing on as well, and this has not been ironed, so it's crunchy. So this was one of my kind of test pieces as well. And I liked the lighter spots in here. I liked that I had some darker spots, which is a little hard to tell from this because it's not ironed, but this may still be too dark. So, but I think I have a plan. And one of the things that was kind of holding me up was getting a piece of fabric the size that I need, because I want to do this on 40 count. That's my fabric of choice. And for 40 count, I needed a stitcher's half, which is 27 by 36, which is a big honkin' piece of fabric. So, and I think I mentioned that I was leery of shelling out the 60 bucks to order like a Picture This Plus or something like that, you know, a hand-dyed fabric, because I wasn't sure, you know, what color I was going to get. So, and that's just a lot of money. So I had been looking around for where I could find fabric for relatively, you know, inexpensive. I mean, that's a huge piece of fabric, so it's not going to be, you know, $5. But I had found a piece of antique white, Zweigart, because Witchelt is a no. Zweigart for $40, and I thought that's a good deal. I'm ordering that. Then I got to poking around and found also Zweigart, a color called Mallow. which I assume is kind of marshmallow. 20 bucks. So 40 count, 20 bucks, 27 by 36. And this is just a neutral, nondescript fabric. Do you see how big this is? Seriously. Like, no, you can't really see how big this is because, yeah. Anyway, so, I think Emily went with 36 count, so she actually needed larger because of the 36 count. I can get it on a half because I'm doing 40 count. So my plan is to dye this. And my plan is I'm gonna start light and then take it down from there. But I want it to be gray. I would ideally like it to be somewhere, you know, I want it to be lighter than these, but not this light. I want kind of a medium gray. Like this tone, I love. This is a little blue to me. I think I like this better. But I need it to be a couple shades lighter. So I'm gonna start light and then I can add more if I need to. So that's my plan. I don't know when I'm gonna get a chance to do it, but I'm hoping soon because I would like to get that dyed so that I can start on my actual piece. And while I started with the swan on my test piece, Swan Pelican, Swelican, really my main thing that I was trying to do two things. One is I wanted to make sure that that black would show up on this dark fabric, and it does fine. Now granted, that is 2 strands and not 1, so that's going to cause a little bit of difference. But my second thing that I was testing was how that red beak, red eye situation was going to work. And I think it works fine. I think it's great. So, I will probably do my normal and start in a corner. I might start in the center. We'll see what I'm feeling. But I'm super, super excited to start it. And Emily, my sincere apologies for my Startus interruptus. My fake start. But you guys know I have to think about these things. I have to think about it. I have to think about it. I have to think about it some more. And then I have to look at it, and then I have to think about it. This is why I get nothing done, because I'm so busy thinking about things. So, Dutch Beauty. That's the state of affairs. But 20 bucks for a half yard? I didn't care what the freak color it was. So, good deal. So, and if my dyeing experiment goes well, I may go back for more. So, all right. What else do I want to tell you? 2 more things, and then I gotta go. Tomorrow, Eric and I are going to Wichita Falls because his aunt's sister, who's an artist, has been working on a mural for the city that is actually going to be, they're going to have like the unveiling and the presentation and all of that tomorrow. And so we're driving to Wichita Falls, which is just a couple hours. We're driving to Wichita Falls to meet up with them and his aunt and uncle and his parents and sister probably, and get together and have lunch and spend the day and do the unveiling and then have dinner and then drive home. So we're pretty much going to be gone all day, all night tomorrow. I'd really like to bring coffee Quaker with me, but I don't know that I can stitch on 40 count in the car. So I may just bring my knitting. That may be safer. So, but I'm definitely bringing something because 2 hours in the car. So that's what's going on tomorrow, which should be fun. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is I'm still sort of shuffling through those last lingering boxes, things that came from storage, and then I had things that are here that I had sort of set aside that needed to go. And one of those things is I have a whole bunch of quilting fabric that I am going to be selling. And, you know, mostly just because it's just not my taste anymore. And so I'm going to be selling that. I'm probably going to bundle some of it up since some of it's weird cuts. I'm trying to get the air out of this plastic bag. It's not working. I'm probably going to bundle some of it up because I have some batiks and, you know, whatever. So Eric set up a sale page for me on my blog. And so as soon as I get the chance to kind of deal with that fabric and get it photographed and priced, I will put it up there on my blog, on my sale page. I also have some quilt patterns, and I have kind of the last lingering bit of cross-stitch charts to sell. So I'm gonna work on getting those kind of photographed and loaded and what have you. But so if you go to my blog, you know, there's some tabs up at the top, and one of them says Crafty Goodness. It's also on my sidebar that says Crafty Goodness, stuff for sale. So you can get over to that page. Right now it just says there's nothing here, you know, but if you want to sign up to be notified when I post something, you can do that. So if that's something you're interested in, great. I am hoping to have that done soon so that I can get some more stuff out of my house. And, you know, all of the quilt fabric and everything has been here at the house. It has not been in storage. It's just sort of mixed in with all of the, you know, storage stuff I'm trying to deal with. So we had a donation place come and pick up stuff 2 weeks ago or something. And I think I had like 3 trash bags and 9 boxes worth of stuff to donate that they came and picked up. That poor guy, he was probably not happy. But so, out of the house. And one of these days I will actually make it to the post office to mail crap that I owe people, because I'm horrible and can't manage to get to the post office to save my life. So, anyway, maybe I can figure out how to have the post office come to me. Maybe somebody can just come and pick up stuff at my house. That would be super easy, wouldn't it? I bet you can do that. Okay, so I think that's all I have to say. Anyway, I am going to put this stuff away, and then I think I'm going to stitch a little bit while I have some time. Maybe watch a little Flosstube. You know, the things that, you know, you do on a Friday night when you're free and have no cares in the world. So, anyway. All right, that's it for me. Bye, guys.